Before we begin, I want to thank Wonder for sponsoring this video. If you need to bring an idea to life, then Wonder is for you, an app that lets you turn words into digital art. Using Wonder, all you need to do is pick an adjective, a subject, or a situation, and a style. The AI will then create a unique piece of art based on your specifications. The applications of this can be limitless. Maybe you're looking for inspiration in creating your own piece of art. Well, then type in the words that best describe your idea and see what Wonder comes up with. Maybe you're just looking to have a fun time creating any kind of image you could possibly imagine. Taking an idea and applying it to Wonder's many different artistic styles is part of what makes it great. You can view what your idea looks like as an oil painting or as a photograph, or maybe you'd like to give it a cinematic style. You can be as specific or as abstract as you want. The possibilities are truly endless. With Wonder Premium, you get over 20 different styles, faster rendering speeds, unlimited art, and no ads. So click the link in the description and download Wonder now. You can get a free trial of the premium version and let your creativity flow. "66-year-old Bill Ewasko was a retired resident of Murrieta, Georgia. He enjoyed hiking and jogging and was a Vietnam War veteran. He had planned to travel to Joshua Tree National Park for a solo hiking trip that was to last about a week in June of 2010. Joshua Tree is over 1,200 square miles of desert terrain known for its namesake trees. According to friends, Bill went to Joshua Tree every year and it was one of his favorite places. He flew into the LAX airport in California on June 23rd and subsequently rented a white 2007 Chrysler Sebring in order to get around. Afterwards, Bill drove to a condo located in Rancho Mirage that was owned by a friend. Bill had a number of locations that he planned on visiting while in Joshua Tree, including Carey's Castle, Indian Cove, Keys View, the Lost Horse Mountain, and the Salton Sea. He had also planned on meeting two individuals at some point during his trip. Bill called his girlfriend Mary around 8 a.m. on June 24th and informed her that he was driving into Joshua Tree and was planning to hike to Carey's Castle that day. Carey's Castle is an old miner's hut built into some rocks. Bill told his girlfriend that he would call her as soon as he was done with the hike, which he estimated to be around 5 p.m., but he never did. By this time, Bill's girlfriend tried calling him numerous times both on his cell phone and at the condo. She decided to call Riverside Sheriff's Office in order to report Bill as missing. She informed the sheriff that it was very unusual for him to not call her. She believed that he may have been injured inside Joshua Tree. Park rangers received the report of an overdue hiker at around 8 a.m. on June 25th. Bill's girlfriend had called informing them of his plan to hike into Carey's Castle, and also that he had not been heard from since. When rangers went there and didn't find his vehicle, they were informed of all the other possible locations Bill had planned on visiting, but they still had no luck. Specifically, rangers checked the area of Lost Horse Mine, Keys View, and the Juniper Flats parking area multiple times. Rangers then called the owner of the condo where Bill had been staying and asked them to check if Bill was still there. They reported back that he was not, and his car was not in the parking lot. Rangers also tried calling one of the individuals that his girlfriend said he had planned on meeting up with. Strangely, when rangers heard back from this person, they were told that they did not know who Bill Ewasko was. On June 26th, Riverside Sheriff's deputies searched Bill's condo with the permission of the owner. There were no signs of forced entry or signs of any struggle. They found some folded clothes items and a bottle of prescription blood pressure medication. They also found several itineraries and numerous maps he was using. One of the itineraries stated, Thursday, Thousand Palms, Joshua Tree all day, Lost Horse Mountain Friday, Joshua Tree Wonderland of Rocks. Later this day, a California Highway Patrol helicopter spotted Bill's vehicle at Juniper Flats backcountry at around 5 p.m., and they were able to finally pin down where Bill had really gone for his hike. Rangers noticed some receipts in the vehicle with directions to Juniper Flats written on them, as well as boot prints near the car, but they were uncertain that they belonged to Bill. Rangers checked the backcountry board for a registration tag left by Bill, but it appeared he did not register. Registration is not required in the park, but many people choose to do so for their own safety. At this point, they began an intensive multi-agency land search. They confined their search to the area around Quail Mountain, Juniper Flats, and Stubb Springs. Rangers began by driving down Juniper Flats Road, calling out to Bill using the vehicle's loudspeaker and flashing emergency lights as it continued to grow darker. Other hasty searchers were sent to Quail Mountain and Stubb Springs as they were the two most popular hiking destinations from where Bill had parked his vehicle. During this time, temperatures were reaching a high of 89 degrees with a roughly 20-degree drop at night. The terrain of the location varied from flat sandy washes to rugged rocky canyons and mountainous ridge tops. After dark, some searchers mentioned seeing lights to the west of Juniper Flats trailhead. These lights were never confirmed, and searches in that area later on revealed nothing. By June 27th, rangers established a containment area for their search, using Quail Springs Road, Smithwater Canyon, and Johnny Lang Canyon as a northern border, and the California Riding and Hiking Trail as a southern border. They had determined that there was a high probability that Bill was in this area based on the location of his vehicle, the fact that he listed Quail Mountain and Smithwater Canyon as destinations that he had planned to hike, and also based on information they had received that Bill was a day hiker and would not be equipped for nor attempt any overnight hikes. Searchers were in the field for about 14 hours, but found nothing but a red bandana near Quail Mountain that they were not certain belonged to Bill. On Monday, June 28th, as search teams continued looking in their specified areas, the Riverside County Sheriffs brought in an officer with his bloodhound to try and find Bill's direction of travel. After using scent articles found in Bill's vehicle, the canine led the officer west on the California Riding and Hiking Trail to where it intersects with Juniper Flats Road, and then stopped. At about 7:30 in the evening, a Detective Martinez arrived to inform rangers that a Yucca Valley cell tower had registered a ping from Bill's cell phone at around 6:30 a.m. the previous day. Cell phone pings can only give someone a general vicinity rather than a pinpoint location, though the ping indicated it came from within 10 miles of the cell tower. Detective Martinez also informed park rangers that Bill may have been in possession of up to 3 water bottles, cereal bars, bananas, and apples, in addition to other snacks. Aside from this information, the only possible clues discovered throughout the day was from a team in the Upper Covington Flats area, who said they smelled the stench of death. No source for the smell was located, though it could have simply been an animal carcass. June 29th began with more canine units arriving to assist the search. Rangers had been consistently trying to get an airship with FLIR capabilities, but it was proving difficult. Search dogs were able to find 2 500-milliliter bottles. Both bottles were full, unopened, and stashed underneath a log. According to reports, the scent dogs exhibited behavior that strongly suggested Bill had handled the water bottles, as well as the red bandana that had been found previously. On June 30th, a hiker named Greg Mendoza came forward stating that he had gone into Joshua Tree on June 24th and parked at Juniper Flats at 10:20 a.m. He did not see any other vehicles in the parking lot at that time. Mr. Mendoza hiked the Stubb Springs Trail and did not see Bill anywhere on it. When he came back to the Juniper Flats parking lot at around 5:30 or 6 p.m., he noticed a white Chrysler Sebring parked there with fresh boot tracks heading up the dirt road to the west. He noted that the vehicle was parked parallel to the curb on the north side of the parking lot. On July 1st, the search continued, but due to a lack of clues, fatigue of the searchers, the limited and dwindling supply of searchers, extreme temperatures, and the size of the search area, incident command was suspended. During that time period of June 28th to July 1st, Temperatures fluctuated between a high of 94 degrees during the day and 56 degrees during the night. On July 2nd, a frequent hiker in the Joshua Tree area called rangers to inform them that he had previously left 2 water bottles behind a log in the search area. He explained that he stores them there for his planned hikes. Rangers determined that these were the water bottles that they had discovered on June 29th. Park officials also received an email from a hiking couple, David and Cheryl Haber, who were in the park on June 25th. They stated that they entered the park and arrived at the Juniper Flats parking lot at 8:45 a.m., where they noticed one vehicle in the parking lot, a white compact car. The vehicle was parked parallel along the curb. The couple went on their hike east on the California Riding and Hiking Trail for about 2.5 miles, and saw nobody during that time. They arrived back at the Juniper Flats parking lot at 10:30 a.m. The white car was still there, but now there was another vehicle parked on the other side of it. The couple then left the park. The search resumed on July 3rd with the arrival of the Sierra Madre search and rescue teams. Also on this day, an administrative employee within the park named Mimi Gorman contacted investigators to give a statement about things she had witnessed on June 26th. Miss Gorman had driven to Keys View on June 26th to give an informal interpretive program at 10 a.m. She passed the Juniper Flats parking lot on the way to Keys View, but could not recall whether there was a vehicle there or not. About 3 hours later, as she headed back through the area, she noticed a newish white sedan in the parking lot. She gave a detailed description of how the vehicle was parked and even drew a diagram of it. She mentioned that there was something yellow, orange, or red on the front, which matched up with a yellow parking pass Bill had on his vehicle. The odd part is that her description did not match up with how the vehicle was parked when it was found by park rangers. Miss Gorman was shown a photo of the vehicle taken by rangers and immediately exclaimed, "That's not how it was parked," while confirming that it was the same vehicle she saw, and that it was the only one in the parking lot at that time. She recalled the vehicle being backed in and parked facing away from the curb at an angle. By July 4th, searchers began looking outside the containment zone between Geology Tour Road and Lost Horse Mine. These were not areas that Bill had likely tried to hike to from Juniper Flats, but searchers were running low on possibilities. By July 5th, the search was significantly scaled back, with searches happening only on an intermittent basis. The weather at the time was getting increasingly more hot, some days as much as 106 degrees, and still no new clues had been found regarding Bill Ewasko's whereabouts. On July 18th, Bill's girlfriend Mary called rangers to ask if they had checked the Carey's Castle area of the park. They told her that it was the first area that was checked based on the information she had given. Bill's girlfriend mentioned that he was really interested in going to the Carey's Castle area, even though she did not want him to because of what she had read online about it. She went on to say that she had spoken with a psychic who informed her that Bill was attacked and his vehicle was parked in a different location from where he was left. According to the psychic, the person who assaulted him has done this on numerous occasions before, and a pile of wallets would be found near his location. In addition to this, there were other psychic-type tips provided to investigators. One email sent to detectives describes 2 sessions of something called intuitive reading, something akin to remote viewing. One of these intuitive readers provided some rather detailed descriptions to authorities, like, "From where the man is sitting, there are mountains with no snow, trees in front of the mountains, dry grass, rocks, dirt. It's hot. He's close to a path or road, and there are empty water bottles. To his left there is a canyon, and 5 miles to the right is civilization." The intuitive reader goes on to say that Bill cannot move, is swollen, thirsty, fatigued, and has a sprained ankle. They claim to have made some sort of spiritual contact with Bill and informed him help was on the way. The second session describes a red truck by the road with dark, slippery woodlands. A twisted ankle, sliding down, sideways, but okay. Heavy breathing, chest hurting, numb on right side. They describe a man being near a stream with cold running water. It goes on to describe terrain 10 to 20 miles away from the subject's location. Whether or not these intuitive readings were used by investigators in any meaningful way is unknown. On February 8th of 2022, Joshua Tree Dispatch received a call from a group of hikers stating that they had found skeletal remains next to a backpack. They had found car keys, an old flip-style cell phone, a whistle, and a wallet with ID belonging to Bill Ewasko. The exact coordinates of the remains have been redacted from the park's report, but the description given for the location is on a peak near the split of the Panorama Trail and Bigfoot Trail, and also approximately 1 mile from the Bigfoot Trailhead off of Park Boulevard. Using this information, I would approximate the location of Bill's remains to be somewhere on this peak here. When I calculated the distance between this location and the cell phone tower that had pinged Bill's phone, I came up with 10.06 miles, which means the distance determined by the cell phone ping was almost spot on, and also would mean that Bill did not move far, if at all, after the cell phone was turned on and pinged. The 6 hikers who made the discovery were camping in the backcountry and had decided to explore the peak near their campsite and possibly get a better view for the oncoming sunset when they came across the bones and backpack. Authorities went out to the location along with the reporting parties and located the remains, which were photographed and left in place for the homicide team, which was going to arrive the next day. Bill's remains were found roughly 8 miles away from where his vehicle was found. Though not specifically mentioned anywhere in the report, I would venture a guess that the case was declared accidental and officially closed as the records have been released. The remains were in such a state that determining cause of death was likely impossible. It would have been interesting to know if any of the bones were broken. That at least could have provided an explanation or ruled one out. However, the discovery of Bill's remains did finally answer the important question of where he went. The disappearance of Bill Ewasko has ingrained itself in the minds of many people during the 12 years that he was missing in Joshua Tree. After the official search had concluded, members of the public interested in the case began their own amateur searches and ended up covering more ground than the initial search. One man, Tom Mayhood, went into Joshua Tree numerous times and searched great swaths of territory looking for Bill. Using Juniper Flats as the starting location, many have tried to determine Bill's potential path of travel and the relevance of the cell phone ping received 3 days later. Nobody had ever envisioned that Bill would be found in the location that he was. Some may wonder how the cell phone ping was not thoroughly investigated. There are a number of factors related to this. I already mentioned the margin of error associated with cell phone pings, and the ping range of 10.6 miles put the cell phone location at such a distance from Juniper Flats that it likely seemed unreasonable to spend much time searching those areas. That is not to say that park rangers didn't want to, though. Rangers asked sheriff deputies for a FLIR helicopter to cover the areas indicated by the cell ping. A deputy told the park rangers that this would be done, but it never was. Searchers spent some time in the areas along the ping line, and later searches conducted by folks like Tom Mayhood orchestrated some of their own searching based on the ping information. While these searches may have come close to Bill's location at times, nobody thought to check the peak where Bill would eventually be found. One unusual aspect of this case that is hard to ignore is the location of Bill's vehicle. If you paid close attention to how the search played out, you may have taken note of the inconsistencies regarding Bill's vehicle at Juniper Flats. Let's look at the timeline. Bill Ewasko phoned Mary at 8 a.m. on June 24th. He said he was already driving out to Joshua Tree and planned to visit Carrie's castle that day. Hiker Greg Mendoza was the first to spot Bill's vehicle. He entered Joshua Tree on June 24th as well, and parked at Juniper Flats at 10:20 a.m. When Mr. Mendoza makes it back to the parking lot, it is between 5:30 and 6 p.m. He now sees Bill's white Chrysler parked parallel to the curb. Mr. Mendoza then leaves. On June 25th, David and Cheryl Haber enter Joshua Tree. They park at Juniper Flats at around 8:45 a.m. and see Bill's Chrysler there, parked in the same fashion, parallel to the curb. The couple go on their hike and return around 10:30 a.m. This time they see another vehicle parked on the other side of Bill's. They head home. More than 3 hours later, Ranger Grayson, who has been alerted that Bill Ewasko is missing, drives out to Keys View looking for Bill's white Chrysler. He presumably passes Juniper Flats parking lot and does not note seeing a vehicle there. On the morning of June 26th, Ranger Grayson is once again tasked with checking Keys View for Bill's vehicle. This time, the ranger specifically notes that he checked Juniper Flats around 9 a.m. and no cars were parked there. At 9:45 a.m., Mimi Gorman drives by Juniper Flats on her way to Keys View. She does not remember seeing any vehicles in the parking lot but couldn't be sure. On her way back from Keys View at 1:15 p.m., Miss Gorman stops by the Juniper Flats parking lot, a location she frequently eats lunch at provided no one else is there. This time, however, she sees Bill's white Chrysler parked there and would later give rangers a detailed description of how it looked and how it was parked. Miss Gorman would state that the car was backed in at an angle, parked away from the curb with its front facing Keys View Road. Miss Gorman leaves the parking lot after seeing Bill's vehicle parked there. At about 5 p.m. this same day, a CHP helicopter spots Bill's vehicle parked at Juniper Flats. When rangers arrive on scene, they find the car parked parallel along the curb, much in the same fashion described by Mr. Mendoza and the Habers. So if we were to follow eyewitness accounts, Bill's vehicle arrives in the Juniper Flats parking lot on June 24th. Bill then goes missing. The vehicle then disappears sometime on June 25th, before being seen again on June 26th, but now parked differently. Finally, when park rangers discover the vehicle later on the 26th, the vehicle has changed position yet again. The question is, did Bill's vehicle actually move, or are people just unreliable when it comes to both memory and competence? Obviously, an argument could be made for both. Ranger Grayson would have had to have been grossly incompetent to have passed the Juniper Flats parking lot twice and somehow have not noticed Bill's vehicle there, if indeed it was there the entire time. And while Miss Gorman was the only witness who stated the vehicle was parked differently when she saw it, she was also the one who gave the most detailed information about the vehicle. So was Bill's vehicle moved at some point? And if so, by who? The question is one that's difficult to answer, and at the time Bill was missing, it wasn't investigated in any serious way. It still remains one of this case's notable oddities. The question of the moving vehicle aside, we still have to speculate about much of Bill's movement after he entered the park. He calls Mary at 8 a.m. while driving into the park, but his vehicle still isn't at Juniper Flats even 2.5 hours later. This time could be accounted for by Bill heading to Carey's castle, perhaps even getting to the trailhead, and then changing his plans and deciding to drive to Juniper Flats. Once at Juniper Flats, the indications are that he headed west. This assumption coming from the tracks that were seen and the canines that tracked his scent that way. He possibly goes up near Quail Mountain, where the red bandana was found. At some point, Bill gets lost. I hesitate to say that he gets injured because he still has far to go before he would reach the spot where his remains were eventually found. While Bill had his cell phone, he clearly didn't have any reception, which is very common within the park. Though he only has minimal food and water, he moves north toward the Quail Wash Park entrance for nearly 3 days. At around 6:30 a.m. on June 27th, a cell tower in Yucca Valley pings his cell phone at an estimated distance of 10.6 miles. This may have occurred after Bill climbed the peak where his remains were found, which could have been his entire reason for climbing it in the first place. It has been theorized that Bill may have kept his phone off to preserve its battery, as it continued to drain over the prior 3 days. When he turned it on at the top of the peak, the flood of texts and voicemails could have drained the remaining battery, but not before it sent out one final ping. Given the estimated distance from this cell tower, I think it's very likely that Bill stopped moving at or near the same place his cell phone was pinged. If true, he was only half a mile away from Park Boulevard as the crow flies. However, at that point, after walking for 3 days in the hot desert with minimal water, Bill was probably in very poor condition. Bill unfortunately had a few things working against him as he went missing in Joshua Tree. It's always wise to tell someone where you're planning on going and when you will be back when you go on a hike. Bill did this, but he changed his mind at some point without telling anyone. This only worked to delay an effective search for him. Given Bill's experience as a hiker and as a veteran, once he became lost, he may have tried to walk his way out instead of staying put. Sometimes an individual's toughness and persistence can work against them, and Bill traveled far through rugged terrain before he died. Ultimately, we'll never know the exact sequence of events that led to the decisions Bill made. When looking up information about Bill's disappearance, I came across another missing person incident at Joshua Tree that I thought shed some light on the state of mind of lost individuals. A few months after Bill Ewasko went missing, a 64-year-old real estate broker from Los Angeles named Ed Rosenthal went for a day hike in Joshua Tree. Ed hiked almost every weekend and was planning to walk 4 miles at most from Black Rock Campground, on a trail he had been on at least 5 times before. But this time, he became lost. He had to endure 6 days of survival in the hot desert. When Ed was finally rescued, he could not explain how he had become lost, why he had walked into canyon after canyon, or why he had strayed so many miles from where he had started. Ed was quoted in the Los Angeles Times talking about the experience and saying, "There's an amazing energy around. It's not about me, this whole event. I never had the kind of energy to walk 25 miles. I never hike like that." Ed was eventually rescued when a helicopter spotted him in a canyon. His story gives interesting and unique insight into what people are capable of when they become lost and what their mindset is. Some people just start walking, thinking they can hike themselves out of their predicament. Unfortunately, that is often not the case. Bill Ewasko's situation feels similar to that of Ed Rosenthal, though with a much worse outcome. There are obviously still some unanswered questions surrounding Bill's case, as there always are when the missing are no longer around to explain their actions. Bill died while doing the activity that he loved and in a park that he cherished. After 12 years being lost in Joshua Tree, his remains have finally been found. Sometimes that is all you can ask for in cases of this nature. Until next time, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the link in the description and check out Wonder today.